Blessed ones, greetings to you. It is not only your individual experiences that are having these points of intensity, it is also the planet. You understand that you are extensions of micro versions of the macro, and you can also understand that it is not just the physicality of the planet that is moving through its peak experience in more rapid succession. It is also the structures on the planet. So we invite you to observe acutely in the next 9 to 10 weeks on the planet how the systems and structures are reaching points of crisis. And how when you see those points of crisis, you will not see them in panic and pray for resolution, but you will see them in triumph as moments of transformation. Do you understand? It is very easy to see chaos as something that needs to be resolved. But humans will misinterpret chaos greatly, because they will see chaos as anything that is not here. Do you understand? And the systemization of your planet is designed so that humans are conditioned, when they begin to see the intensity rise, that they will do everything in their power to bring it back down. Everything in their power to bring things back to normal. Everything in your power to bring things back to peace and harmony, or so it would seem. But you must be very aware, are we bringing peace and harmony, or are we bringing an artificial rhythm? Can you understand it? Because it is the rhythm of the planet to have this, and yet the structures on your planet are all about maintaining flatline. Would you agree? Now you may say unto us, well, even with the cycles on the planet, it is about a rise and a fall, a rise and a fall, a rise and a fall. But we say unto you, they have been designed to be so systematically predictive that it is really a flat line, because nothing unexpected ever occurs. And if something unexpected does occur, we need to eradicate it immediately. Can you understand it? And so in doing so, never reaching these peak experiences, the actual timeline of the planet does not have an opportunity to shift for the collective human consciousness. Listen carefully. The timeline of the planet does not have an opportunity to shift for the collective human consciousness. This is very important, because you as individuals have been learning in these conversations about how peak experiences and transformation are actually a shift to a different timeline, a different dimensional frequency, a different set of possibilities and outcomes, different reality. And it is wonderful that you are experiencing this, and it is wonderful that humans can know this, that they are the creators of their own reality. But how does that translate into a collective experience of reality? Because that's been your question. That's been the question of many of you. How does that translate into a collective experience of reality? It's all very well for you to change your reality. What about the rest of the planet? And you could say, well, my view is the only view. And that is so. But your Earth is very unique in the experience here, because it's all about the collective experience on this planet. And so when you begin to understand that you have your own reality that you can move and manipulate, there comes desire from deep within you to bring the rest of consciousness in with you, to bring the rest of the collective human consciousness in with you. Yes? Because you know now what is possible. Let's take the planet there. Agree? So what we say unto you is that when you start to understand how these peaks and troughs work for you individually, there comes a time where you begin to apply it collectively. Now, how do you go about doing that is the question. It's always about understanding how to read the planet. Because humans begin to read themselves. Agree? But then you start to read that movement of peaks and troughs in a collective way. For example, within this room, you can see that there will be specific days in the last week where you had your peak experiences. And it is very likely that they were all within the same 24 hours. Do you understand? So you start to find the patterns in things. You start to realize that it's less individual in terms of how you are experiencing intensity. You start to notice the collectivity. So When you start to notice the collectivity, you also start to see it in the way that the planet is behaving. You also start to see it in the way that your political structures and your economy is behaving. You can actually at this time track what your financial markets are doing, and you will actually start to be able to see that pulse at work. Now, your economists on the planet are getting very worried about this because things are moving out of a cyclical nature and into these more, they believe, sporadic peaks. But they are absolutely in alignment with the electromagnetic fields on the planet. They're absolutely in alignment with the thrust of the crust of the planet at this time. And they're also in alignment with the collective peaks and troughs of human experience. So everything's starting to come into one. Can you understand it? So, if you want to start playing with collective experience and start enjoying that motion, the first thing is to become very aware that when you're having your peak experience, notice what is happening around you. Because this is about awareness and focus. And in that peak experience, you can be very clear that it's no longer about what transformation do I want on a personal level, such as what this one was describing to you earlier. It becomes about what is the vision for transformation here for the collective. Now that may seem very familiar to you because there are many that would sit around the planet in so-called meditation or in harmonic convergence and say, this is our vision for the planet and we will hold the energy for it. Now what we say to you about that is when people come together and hold a vision for collective humanity and the planet, they tend to do it in a state of harmony. Don't they?
Yeah.
Let us come together and pray for peace. And this is where the energy sits. Because humans like to feel safe when they ask for things. Don't they? Don't they like to go into peace to find their change? And yet here we are and the planet's going through gigantic transformation. It's going through gigantic shifts in terms of your human quantification. Therefore, you will notice that it is when the planet is in its peak of its intensity that you have your window to come together or to even in your capacity of awareness sit in the collectivity. This is the transformation that is required for the planet, because that's when it happens. That's when the planet shifts. Do you understand? Now there are scientists on the planet who have measured that when there is a great chaos, they have been able to measure electromagnetic fields of the planet, and they have been able to measure human focus on a particular chaos. And what they have noticed is that there are peak points of electromagnetic reference along with peak emotional experience of humans, yes, in fear or upset or shock or what have you. Can you understand it? And so what your scientists are saying is that when humanity comes together in this point of chaos and intensity, there is a collective movement that happens on the planet, and the planet's actual electromagnetic field can measure it. Now, it's not measuring it when humans are sitting in peace, praying for harmony.
Can't you have a peak experience of bliss? Or
you can, absolutely. But it is very difficult at this point in the human experience to have a collective experience of human bliss. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
It's more likely that it's going to be an experience of intensity that is not blissful. Would you agree? Yes? So, in light of this discussion, it is valuable for you to start to play with what's happening when the world is getting worried. What's happening when everybody's starting to get very stressed because things are looking shaky. It's looking as if a terrible event has either just occurred or is occurring or is about to occur, and everybody's focus is there and it's intense. That's the moment in which you're in that collective human intensity. And it's no different to having the transformation in your own personal experience as it is in the collective reality. It's only about where your attention is. It's only about which field you want to play in. Can you understand what we're saying to you? Yes? Do you want to swim in the pond in that moment, or do you want to swim in the ocean? It's exactly the same. Your opening is there.
Feeling it, like we talked last time we were here, I mentioned the fact that I noticed this going on around me, you know, when people are focusing on one thing, but I don't feel drawn to it or...
Because it's not your peak intense emotional response. Now at that time, if you're noticing it around you, be aware. Is this something that is my reality is a part of as well? Now you could say unto us, well, I'm sensing this, but I'm not feeling it. Because remember, there's a distinction. One is an emotional response and one is an awareness of that intensity. Do you remember the difference between sensing and emoting? Yes? So I can sense that there is a lot of fear and tension around. I'm not having an emotional experience of that, but it's there. So you're still acknowledging that intensity. Yes? And if you can sense it, you can still ride the wave of it. Yes? You don't have to be emotional in it. For example, when this one was explaining about their peak experience, it was very intense, but there was no emotion. It was heat, it was irritation, it was speed. Do you understand? We must talk about this, we must write this down, but there wasn't the emotion there. There was the flooding of memory. Something was happening in the body, but the emotion was not there, because if the emotion was there, this one would have retreated back down here out of sheer discomfort. You understanding?
Yeah.
So the heat that you've been feeling in your bodies, yes? Irritation. I'm uncomfortable. I can't feel settled. It's not about emotion. It's about you understanding and sensing the collective rising of the consciousness in that peak experience. Yes? Because what is all of this? We will use the term in this one's mind. They think it is ridiculous. What is all this hoo-ha about raising consciousness on the planet? What is it? It's an intense experience so that consciousness can create something new. It's not rising consciousness so that everybody can relax. Do you understand? It's rising consciousness to catapult you into a new paradigm. It's rising consciousness, rising intensity to create a shift in reality. Can you see it? And that is why it is often said that humanity needs to wake up to create a new planet. They need to wake up through the discomfort quite often in order to shift. Yes? Who likes being woken up? Nobody likes being woken up. When you're in your slumber, you don't like to be woken up, agree?
Yeah.
Because it's comfortable. It's exactly the same with human collective consciousness on the planet. Human collective consciousness needs to be aware of its discomfort if it's going to do anything. Yes? Aren't you all interesting?